What a week it was, meanwhile, for Arsenal. 7 goals, 1 foot in the quarter-finals of the Champions League already. Now it's back to the Premier League. Big Super Sunday clash away to Manchester United. A classic fixture. And by the way, Arsenal won the last 4 of these against United. Gail Davis has spoken to Mikel Arteta this lunchtime. There she is, waiting to speak to us here on Total Football. Main negative, I guess, to come from midweek, Gail. Miles Lewis-Skelly, just remind us of what happened and what Arteta has made of him.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Not surprisingly, Mikel Arteta in pretty good form. There was a real joy and a confidence that they got from Tuesday night that he believes can take them forward to Old Trafford on Sunday. And it's hard to say negative, isn't it, when you're talking about a player who has had an absolute breakthrough season, who has really stood up and performed when so many of the players have been injured. But what we have seen from Miles Lewis-Skelly is he just likes to play on the edge a little bit, doesn't he? In his 23 Premier League starts, he's had 4 yellows and 2 reds. One of those reds was overturned, but he was very close to getting another. In fact, there was such a harsh kind of intake of breath when he put in that second challenge on Ledesma in that game on Tuesday night. Many people thought he probably should have seen red, and actually in a different competition he may well have done. And given how much Arsenal have struggled when they've been reduced to 10 men, Arteta just said he felt he simply couldn't let him carry on. So he was hauled off in the first half, which is, difficult, but clearly they've had a conversation about it, and it's about the learning process of a very young player. Have a listen to what he said.
I think it was quite clear that we have a liability there with the yellow card and the next action. So it wasn't the moment to take any risk and learn from that experience managing the game for so long, especially with how important this competition is. So yeah, a lesson to learn from him for sure. We will support and help him. But yeah, the line is really thin in the sport, and he needs to understand that. Control in a situation, you need to dominate. What space you are defending, what is the level of exposure that you have, is the opponent facing you, not facing you. So what is the probability to win that ball, and when you have to commit to certain duels. And there you have to apply defensive principles that are very clear to most of the time have the best possibility to win the ball and don't get yourself exposed. If you don't do that, at that level, big problem.
So as we'd expect, Gail, Mikel Arteta backing his player, full of praise for Miles Lewis-Skelly. What are the chances, do we think, of seeing both Miles and also Ethan Nwaneri in Thomas Tuchel's first England squad coming up very soon?
Yes, Ethan Nwaneri was a standout performer, wasn't he, on Tuesday night? And as I mentioned with Lewis-Skelly, he's one of those that has had to take a lot of pressure on really young shoulders. He's still only 17, he's 2 weeks or so away from being 18. And he has been phenomenal. And talking to a lot of the press guys afterwards, they were talking about him potentially being a generational talent. He just was unplayable on Tuesday night. Admittedly, PSV defensively weren't at their best. And I don't think anybody would be too surprised to learn that find those two on the long list that Thomas Tuchel has, or the short list of 55 players. They have had an accelerated few months, haven't they, of their careers. And I asked Mikel Arteta how he sees the next part of their careers going, and is it a good point of their development to be part of the national squad? This is what he had to say.
Obviously, what I read and hear about, the noise that is around it. So, Thomas will take with his coaches the decision, and we will support it.
But obviously, somebody who's nurturing them, would you like to see that? Would you feel at this point in their career that's good for them, to be around a different environment, to learn something a bit different?
Well, knowing Thomas and the coaching staff and the environment that they have created around the England camp, I think it will be an incredible experience for them, if that's the case, whenever that is. That's not my decision, that will be their decision. How we manage him here, it's ours, it's in our control. Down there, we'll leave it to coaches and people that are super experienced, much more experienced than me.
Now, Gail, you and I saw each other last night. We were switching over shifts at Sky Sports News, and I said, big milestone coming up for Arteta, 200 in the Prem. Yeah, I knew you'd be across it already. I wasn't trying to do your prep for you. But how did he reflect on that today when you put it to him?
Yeah, it's gone quickly, he says. And it's been eventful, hasn't it? He took over after Amorim was sacked. He lived through COVID, won his first trophy in the FA Cup. And I asked him just about some of the highlights as he prepares for that milestone on Sunday. I suspect he hopes the best is still to come, but this is reflections on the 200 so far.
Sitting here on the first day, just fulfilling that dream of one day becoming the manager of this incredible football club. And then there are many others, but the other night was up there with one of the best because of the way we did it.
That's two, I want a third.
A trophy, for sure. And we won the first FA Cup after everything we went through as a club the last few years, and the COVID period, which was really difficult as well.
200 more?
Win tomorrow. This is in this industry what happens, and try our best. I have a lot of energy still, and very driven to have more success.
Really big day for Arsenal, isn't it, on Sunday? At this point of the season, it's about keeping that momentum and that belief going. They could be 16 points behind Liverpool going into that game. Even the most ardent Arsenal fans would admit it's almost impossible, isn't it, to win the Premier League? But they have their sights set on a European trophy, and if they can keep that winning habit up, find some more goals, get some of their injured players back, then there's still a chance to dream, isn't there, about lifting that trophy this season.
Always a chance to dream. Thank you very much indeed, Gail.